The other good thing about a team sport is you do have your teammates. So we really try and, as the Swans, have a culture of lifting each other up.
In your experience, how pivotal is self-belief in shaping long-term success, not just in a career, but in life as a whole?
I think self-belief is everything, and it ties a lot into self-talk. I often think about, treating yourself as if you were your best friend and how you'd speak to them. Nobody's going to thrive in a situation where the environment is really negative and there's no self-belief. It actually drives your behaviours and changes your attitude. So I think it's so important. Obviously, in a footy setting, it's really important because you don't have much time to make decisions out there and you really need to just be confident in what you're doing. But I think the way you play footy and the way you live life are very similar. You need to have that same belief driving you each day. So yeah, it can't be understated how important it is.
Can you take me back to the moment you first had to back yourself, before there was any real evidence that you could do it? What made you choose belief over doubt in that moment?
A situation that comes to mind is before the AFLW started, there were some exhibition matches between Western Bulldogs and the Melbourne Demons. So that was basically, they rounded up the best in the country. They played an exhibition match. So that was very much a sink or swim situation. And so it was pretty daunting, but I think what made me choose belief over doubt then was, first of all, the selection itself is something that sort of, I guess, validates the reason that you're there. But also when you get to those positions, I think it's very much, you have no other choice. You can either choose, it's basically just a choice. You either choose to believe or choose self-doubt. That's not to say that you always choose the right way. We're human and we do make mistakes, but I think choosing belief in that moment just meant really backing my ability, reminding myself of why I was chosen, and just going out and playing to your strengths. I'm a really strength-focused person, and I believe that's the way to get the best results, and I try and bring that out in my teammates and the people that I'm around too. So I think it's just about focusing on what you can do and all of the controllables that are in your favour. Everything else obviously is out of your control, and any energy spent thinking about that or trying to change those things is futile. Well, for myself, I'm one of the more experienced players. I've been in the league since the beginning, and obviously we have a lot of new players that have only played maybe 1 year or haven't played at all. So my role I see in that is really just imparting the knowledge and the experience that I've gained over time. I've obviously had a lot of match days where there might be a lot of nerves, so I really just see my role there as being sort of someone that the young people can come and talk to, or just checking in with them. It's not always a big song and dance. Usually it can just be asking them how they are or making an effort to have a coffee with them just to check in with how they're feeling. I think those little conversations go a long way, and it's more about building the relationships. I think relationships are really important and fundamental to good team success, because the better I know them sort of off the field, the more I can get to know them on the field, and the better we perform together.
How do you build belief on the days when results, confidence or motivation just aren't there?
I think those terms like motivation can come and go. It's not always consistent. Sometimes you do need to rely on discipline. The thing that I try and focus on is just the little wins. So say you're trying to start a morning routine that really gets you going for the day. It's just sort of habit stacking those little things on top of another. And then on the days that it's really difficult, it's breaking it down. I think when things get quite difficult, people are looking at the big picture and everything that's happening in that day, and you really just need to break it down to each moment and what can I get through. The other good thing about a team sport is you do have your teammates. So we really try and, as the Swans, have a culture of lifting each other up, and when one's down, we can look to maybe someone that we're close with and they help us up, and then they'll return the favour on another day. So I think that's a really special thing that we do.
What's the hardest challenge you've ever had to push through, and how did that experience reshape the belief of what you're capable of?
Yeah, so I think challenges, I view them as necessary for growth. I think if you're not being challenged, then you're probably not pushing yourself hard enough. And I also think they're inevitable in life. They're always going to come up. Everyone has a choice in how they react to challenges. I think there's always growth in it, and I think it's about sort of weathering the storm for me. I think what I was speaking to earlier about piecing it all together, if you look at the big picture, it could really easily mentally break you. So for example, I went through an ACL injury a couple of years ago, and that was really challenging because It's obviously a long-term injury. It's about 12 months out of the game. And there's some very long and lonely days in the gym when, your team might be outside training and it's really difficult. I think lots of athletes would know. But I found I learned a lot about myself in that period. And it sort of changed my perception on, I guess, the love of the game. I think when I returned to it, I loved it even more because I'd missed it for so long. I felt a lot of gratitude for my body and what it was able to do when I returned. It's all of those things. I think for a lot of people that go through challenges, in the moment they wish it never happened, but then afterwards they look back and they realise the benefit that had come from it. And that was certainly the case for me during my ACL injury. And it also was a moment for, I guess, to feel really like I belong amongst the team. All the girls really were supportive. Yeah, I think the challenges are definitely necessary to grow as a person, and it's all about your attitude towards them. I think they can help you in the end, but you just have to be willing to be uncomfortable in the short term.
Do you have a deeper purpose that drives you, and how does that shape the way you show up, train and perform every single day?
Yeah, I think it's probably a bit of both. I think for myself personally, being in the league since the beginning, we sort of pioneered the way quite a lot and went through a bit of turbulence. The system and how everything should run and basically the whole of AFLW and working out the kinks. And now we've got girls coming in that sort of don't know that experience. So it's a little bit looking back and thinking about, what it's taken to get here, but it's also about making sure that we're leaving the league in a really good position for the girls to come through. I think that's a big driver for me.
How do you lead others to believe in themselves, especially when they're struggling to see it?
Yeah, so as I spoke about before, I think I'm really big on focusing on people's strengths. So for me, it's a little bit of both. There's some things that you do sort of in the long term, just building those relationships, making sure, I guess, whoever it is in the team feels really comfortable that they can talk to you and it's a safe space. I think elite sport's pretty brutal sometimes in terms of selection and injuries and all that. So it's really important, I believe, that the girls or your teammates have people that they can trust. And so I try and really pioneer that. As I mentioned before, in games, you really don't have much time to dwell on mistakes, and something that I've worked a lot on personally. So I just try and bring it back to what they can do now, what they're good at, try and get them to bring that. And at the very least, talking, I think, helps a lot. But I think it means a lot when a teammate can reach out and just be a little word of support. It really lifts you.
Looking back on your journey, what role has belief played in getting you to where you are today? And what advice would you give to somebody who's still trying to build that belief in themselves?
Yeah, I think, when I started playing footy, there wasn't a clear pathway set out, but I knew that's what I wanted and I sort of kept that as my focus. So I guess my advice would be, if you know what you're looking for, throw yourself at it. I think even if you pull up short, you're not going to regret giving it everything. I think it's when you leave stones unturned and look back with regret that's when you're sort of kicking yourself about it. It really does just come back to backing yourself, trusting your gut, I think, is a huge one, and sort of just focusing on what you can control. I think if you sort of lead from that pathway and go down that path, you'll be guided by the right decisions, as opposed to, I'm not sure if I should do this. Everyone faces self-doubt and those feelings are normal. You can choose to have them there and they be in the background and you choose your direction.